Welcome back to another episode of Stack Rack TV, Stack Rack Boxing, where we talk boxing, but, we do talk shit from time to time, so just sit back, relax, kick your feet up, Mac Jack, and Slack Jack and Jack. You dig what I'm saying? Today, tonight, this morning, whenever you watching this video, the main topic of this evening for me is Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez, and how even if he win, he still lose. Check this out. Shakur Stevenson right now is one of the best in boxing. I personally believe he should be higher on the pound for pound rankings than he is. It's not many guys on these rankings that has as much skill and talent as a guy like Shakur Stevenson, right? Beautifully offensively, beautifully defensively, very precise, very accurate. And a fighter of Shakur Stevenson caliber, we don't get to see a guy like that all the time. Shakur Stevenson is one of those guys that is constantly improving, from training camp to training camp, from fight to fight. He's grown a lot as a fighter, since the De Los Santos fight. He's looking to go in there and push the pace a little bit more, being a little bit more aggressive. In that Cepeda fight, we seen him, a little willy-nilly on the ropes, but making easy work of Cepeda on the ropes, right? That was Cepeda's whole game plan. If we can get him on the rope, get him stagnant, get him stationary, we can land big shots and we might catch him. He showed you that that type of style wouldn't work. He went, fought off the ropes, catch, counters. He was doing everything that he needed to do to prove fans wrong, especially coming off the De Los Santos fight where everybody believed that he was a runner, he was a track star. Fans want to see Shakur Stevenson reinvented, rebooted at the 140-pound division, right? Usually when guys move up, their power moves up with them, right? And we're looking for, Shakur Stevenson to go in there and put something else on display other than his ability to box a guy's ears off for 12 rounds, right? I personally, I like to see guys get in there and box. I like to see accurate, precise punching. I like to see a guy make a guy twist and turn all night. But, with Shakur Stevenson, in order to boost his stock in the sport, he has to go in there and win this fight in an impressive fashion. Fans don't just want to see decision, right? It's what grows your stock in the sport of boxing. This is a guy that comes into the ring with so much talent, so much skill. He has the ability to get better from training camp to training camp. We've seen it, and we want to see that translate into some more power, being able to hurt guys, drop guys, stop guys, and this would be the perfect opportunity with him moving up to beat a guy at this weight class, in an impressive fashion. He go up, move up to 140, drop Teofimo Lopez to a decision, it make a lot more sense as opposed to, you catching and shooting, twisting and turning all night for a decision. Fans aren't wanting to sit through a fight of this magnitude, and not get no action. Frankly, it's like you with your chick. How long do you want to chill with this chick until you could get buns? You're not trying to, like we've been kicking it 6, 7, 8 months, you know what I'm saying? And then, it don't make no sense. Same thing with Shakur Stevenson. We want some action. We want to see you go up and hurt a guy, stop a guy, drop a guy. And unless he goes up and satisfies fans' expectation, I don't see his stock going up, even if he beats Teofimo Lopez. Now with Keyshawn Davis on the undercard, it adds a lot more pressure. Keyshawn Davis going there and stop a guy like Jermaine Ortiz. Everybody waiting to see what Shakur do next. And it's not anything impressive. He boxed a guy to a decision, without any major events happening in the fight. People are not going to be excited, and people are going to be requesting the Keyshawn Davis and Shakur Stevenson fight more, right? Depending on which one of these guys has the better performance, right? Keyshawn Davis, like I said before, he go in there, make easy work of Jermaine Ortiz, crowd going wild, everybody excited, right? Then Shakur Stevenson comes out, everybody's anticipating Shakur Stevenson coming out and doing something, and nothing happens. People are going to want to see that Keyshawn Davis versus Shakur fight more, because this is a way to gauge which one of these guys will beat one another at the weight class. Frankly, both of these guys are facing tough opponents. Jermaine Ortiz for Keyshawn Davis moving up is a tough fight. Shakur Stevenson moving up fighting Teofimo Lopez is a tough fight. So people are going to be looking at this fight both ways. How do these guys look, and How would these guys' performance had looked against each other on the same night, right? This fight is going to bring more attention to them two possibly fighting, possibly clashing in the future, right? So Shakur Stevenson, even if he wins, even if he goes in there and boxes this guy to a decision, you know, a majority decision, unanimous decision, right? Even if he go in there and get the W, fans are still going to be left wanting more.